Hi.
Hi. Very excited to chat with you. Thank you for being here.
Absolutely, likewise. Thank you for having me.
Yes, it is an honor. We have been on a journey together. When did
Mhm.
we first come into contact? Do you remember?
Well, this is 2024, so it was 2022.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I almost want to start like there. So, for everyone who doesn't know you, please introduce yourself. Where are you going to school? What degree are you getting?
I'm Olamide Oladeji. I'm Nigerian and I'm currently based in Florida, and I will be going to Yale for my acting MFA.
Yes, very exciting. All
Yeah.
right. We
Yes.
dive into the journey.
Yeah.
Um, so 2022 we met.
Mhm.
Where were you at in your life at that time? Where were you at in your relationship to drama school auditions at that time? Like, what was your lens?
So I actually auditioned for drama. This was my third time, by the way. Yeah. So I auditioned the first time, and yeah, it didn't work out, but I did get some offers, but they weren't the schools that I wanted, that I had my eye on. So I knew I was going to apply again, but I did go to a program just to kind of like also be preparing while learning new things and hoping that would help with my next audition. And that was when I got in contact with how to get into drama school, and I auditioned again, and I did a lot of preparation. But see, that's the thing. That's the thing. The first time I auditioned, the stakes weren't off the roof. They weren't crazy stakes. I was just excited. I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna have I because I hadn't experienced it before." So I had a lot more excitement the first time, but then the second time, the stakes just felt, I really have to get in. I have to do this. I have to do that, and I was just doing way too much.
You swung
I
the
was
pendulum the other way.
Yeah, yeah, I was just saying way too much. I did get to the end of callback day with Juilliard, so that was, but it was just, it didn't even, I don't think I enjoyed the process even. It was just so, it was messy, not in a good way. I'm all for messy. In fact, I would say yes to messy, but it wasn't the good kind of messy. It was just this turbulent, just forcing something. So that just didn't work out. And this third time, we went back down. We went back down. And that's the thing. This time it wasn't me trying to convince myself to think a specific way. I was just there. I was like, I was like, I'm gonna do it again. And if it doesn't work out, I'll live. I'll survive. So
Yeah.
I wanted to enjoy the process, and I was all again. I was in my second year of this program that I'm in, and it was like, yeah, if I don't get in, that's okay. I'm just gonna finish here, and what's gonna happen will happen. Uh, but yeah, that was the 3 year journey,
Yes,
if you will.
yes. No, it's common in people in my class at Juilliard and definitely in many people who get into these top schools. It's
Yeah.
not the first time auditioning.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean you shouldn't really go for it in good faith
Oh,
and do the
yeah,
best you can anytime you're auditioning, of
absolutely,
course. Um,
absolutely.
and don't yeah. Anyway, but the reality is, yeah, sometimes you learn
Mm-hmm.
when you really put yourself out there and you go,
Yeah,
wow, I was underprepared, or I
yeah,
was, I need to really focus on this. And clearly you did. You really came out of that first audition, it sounds like, contacting us. You
yeah.
came out of that first audition enrolling in a program. Like you
Mhm.
were taking advantage of opportunities to just like, I need to grow.
Yeah, yeah, and I don't think I was under prepared, honestly. I just think I didn't know enough, and I was not ready, and I was focusing on the wrong things, and I was practicing the wrong way. But I will say by my third time, I was a lot more chill, and I just knew more. And I also knew the things to focus on and practicing and just how to, and I worked really hard, but it was also, yeah, let's enjoy this. And even if I don't get in, I must still, like, it's not every time you get a chance to have, you know, these people look at your work. So I'm gonna take something away from this either way.
That's amazing. And would you say when you talk about being ready, um,
Hmm.
and this year you really felt like it was more of a balanced and enjoyable preparation? When you say that, what are, I guess, I kind of want to know before we even talk about the work on a personal basis, when they talk about, you just got to share you,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
What does that mean to you now? Have you found, like, do you agree with that? What did you do to share you? How do you do that now that you're on the other side?
I am someone who, as a person and an artist, I have difficulty being showing my vulnerability. It's just some I
You're not
if I
alone.
right I remember I was in a class once. It was just last semester. I was in a class and I we were doing something, it was an exercise, and I burst out crying. It was like I just burst out crying, and immediately I collected myself. And it was like, why? Why couldn't I just why couldn't I just bleed into the vulnerability, into the emotion? So that's the kind of person I am. So I this time it was just enjoying the work and allowing myself to be me and not feel like I have to control my image or I have to look this way. It was more so I have these four pieces that I like and I enjoy working on them and I'm just going to approach this as not it's not a this is what I have. Do you want me? Or rather this is where I am. What are your thoughts? Like what are your like what are your thoughts on how I can make my work better? So I approached it from that this is my craft and I enjoy doing it and we're sharing something in this space. It's not me doing do you want me? Do you want me? But it's more so,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
I
So go for it. Yeah, go for it.
yeah, so I wanted to do that. And so that was the mindset that I approached it with this time.
That's amazing. How did you discover that mindset? By the way, so well articulated. And it's such a distinction. It's a micro distinction, but one comes from like desperation and one comes from attraction, or
Yeah,
really not attraction, just passion for the craft, not
yeah,
so much focus
yeah,
on insecurity about what you think of me. It's more about, look, this is where I'm at. What are your
mm,
thoughts? How can you help? Let's
exactly,
play together. But
exactly.
how where'd you get that adjustment?
It's one of those things where if you've gone through the process multiple times, your mindset starts to change. I'm it's I reflect a lot, yeah. And I would say just reflecting. I'm stubborn as well. So just choosing to go through these things again and reflecting on what happened or what didn't happen and just where I was. And again, the first time I auditioned, I was 19. Yeah. And now I turned 22 a month ago, and my and outside this craft, by the way, I think having growing as a person outside of acting and also consuming other art forms and just life itself, that also bleeds into the mindset of how you approach things. And I would say that was a big part of just I've tried the forcing part and forcing it just doesn't work. So at some
My
point it's just
gosh. You
what
learned quickly.
do you?
You've learned quickly. Usually people have to work that out while they're in school. I definitely had to come up against some similar things, but that was while I was at Juilliard, not before.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
definitely have a head start in that regard. Um, you said one thing that I want to ask you about.
Mhm.
You auditioned first when you were 19, and what, 2 years later, or two or three cycles later, you're in your early 20s now.
Yeah.
Yale is a master's program,
Yeah.
right? Usually you would need a bachelor's degree in
Yeah.
order to apply. Do you have a bachelor's degree?
I had a bachelor's degree when I applied when I was 19. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that's impressive. Tell us more.
It's just my background. I graduated high school when I was 15. yeah, so I was done with my bachelor's at 20, Jesus. See, those years all they just they're so
That's
vague. So
amazing. I didn't know that about you.
yeah, yeah. So I think I was
Like, I don't
done.
know why I didn't put two and two together till literally just now for everyone to watch. But like, yeah, I didn't really realize. Maybe I didn't actually know your specific age, but now that I heard that
Yeah,
you auditioned at 19, and I was like, how would you do that for an MFA program?
yeah.
It's because you got your bachelor's at 19.
And that was one of the things, the first time I auditioned, that was one of the things lovely, lovely, lovely Tamala said. She was like, 19.
Kamala being who?
Oh, let
For
me
the
just
audience,
not
obviously.
names. Tamala is the I auditioned for her the first time. She was the person in my room, and she is the head of the department, director. Yeah, that's who she is. So
Continue.
I might say her name again and again, not because I'm a fan or anything. I'm not. I'm totally not obsessed with Tamala or anything of the sort. Um, but yeah, she said you're 19, and that the program had people not 19, and it was something to also consider. But I was like, oh, but no, but I'm I was like, no, but I'm accustomed to a rigorous lifestyle.
Amazing.
No, the aspiration was there. It definitely was.
I want to be a fly on the wall in that conversation.
Yeah, it was. And she was like, yeah. She was like, yeah, I can see that. She just said, okay, I hear you. I hear you.
For sure, for sure. Well, you came back with a vengeance. Let's talk about your work.
Hmm.
How did your work change, in your opinion, over the three times?
Yes.
Besides what you said, I'm talking about, your mindset, you
Yeah,
clearly,
yeah.
but the work itself, um, did you use any of the same monologues? Like, how do you feel the quality was different, if at all?
I did not use the same monologues, not for any specific reason. I just wanted to do something different, just personally. But this time, I would so if I was working from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. I would say so my agenda 2 p.m. everything is set. So that means I'm there. I have all my stuff out. I have my yoga mat and everything. I would warm up and I would finish my work up like by 2:30. So 2 to 2:30, I warm up. And then from 2:30, I'm working on the meaning of what I'm saying. I would focus on that for like 15 minutes. And then afterwards, I would work on, and what I mean by that is I'll be working on the monologue, but I'm not just going over the monologue. It's like right now, I'm going to work on the monologue for 15 minutes, but I'm focusing on one thing. And it could be I'm focusing on my actions. So I'm not, so when I'm working in that 15-minute slot, I'm not worried about, I'm not thinking about breath or the language or this or that moment. It's just actions, and then I'm making discoveries on actions, and
Hmm.
whatever I'm finding, that's a note on that. The next 15-30 minutes I'm working on breath, so I'm not thinking about actions, I'm not thinking about the language, I'm not thinking about scansion, I'm not thinking about meaning. Breath. Am I breathing at here is did this breath, am I breathing, does this breath work here? Should I say all of that as one breath? I would focus on that, and whatever discoveries I make, that the next 15 minutes I'm going to work on scansion. I'm going, and it was doing that, so it wasn't just going over, not having something specific in mind. I would have a slot where I was working specifically on one thing, so that I was making very specific discoveries and making very specific choices. And when I did find something, it would be so specific and something little, but it would just add so much more to it. So
That's
much.
amazing. Yeah. No, I bet, correct me if I'm wrong, but
Mhm.
I bet that what you discovered sometimes was something that was like, oh, that feels good. I want to keep that. But oftentimes what you discover is more questions.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you know what I need to do? I need to actually find that out. You know,
Absolutely.
so you're never going to get to those deeper questions unless you do this sort of intentional exploration. Am I right?
Intentional, exactly. It absolutely. I remember I was working, I had a slot working on the paraphrase, going from paraphrasing to the text, and I slipped into my idiolect, just the way I talk with my mom. I slipped into my idiolect, and my body just changed and my attitude changed. And I think I started laughing at so like I just started laughing like what was that? And I would find so, and which is so funny, which is so funny because Tomala actually asked me to do that in the room. She's like,
Really?
I know. And it was just so funny because that was something I actually anyways, what
He
was I
gave you
saying?
an adjustment to just use your own idiolect?
Yeah, she was like, I want to see, I want to see you do Iago with your idiolect. And and she really became very emphatic about me doing that. That was an interesting note. But yeah, so I was doing Adriana, and she mentions abbess at the beginning and at the end because I'm complaining about the abbess to the duke. And the second time I was just working on like the stresses, the scansion, and I tried to stress. And so instead of abyss, which I did the first time, the second time it was abyss. I just added that. And it sounded, because I was, the character was aggravated about this person. And the way I said it, it sounded like I was saying, it
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
sounded like I was going to say that. And I was like, oh my God, that works so well. That works so well. And
Amazing.
it's funny because when I did it in two different rooms, two different schools, again, I'm not someone who, I usually don't try to get laughs. I just think that makes me start to put things on, so I don't try to get laughs. But that was something where they would just laugh. And it was, and it's because yeah, and it's like when they laugh, it's like yeah, I laughed too because I did not expect that.
That's exactly right. And everybody has their own process and all that stuff,
Yeah,
but it sounds like for you, it's fun to play and find out what comes out. And if you like something or if something surprises you, it's likely to surprise the audience. So
exactly.
if it's, possible to sort of let that surprise you each time and
Yeah,
if you can continue to make it feel believable and
yeah,
spontaneous, then share that. That's you sharing you.
yeah.
I definitely had the same thing with one of my monologues in Richard II. Like, there's nothing in the text that says there should be like this emotional explosion in the middle of this verse line.
Yeah.
But for some reason, when I, was working on it, like, I just raised my voice and I made this whole thing, uh, yeah, unique to my own. And I
Uh,
was like, that actually works.
yeah.
And is it justified in the text? Yes. I kind of made sure it checked the boxes of like staying in integrity with the
Mhm.
playwright's
Yeah.
intention, and it felt amazing.
And but I agree, Andrew. I just think you have to play. You really have to play. You do. And when I say play, it's like playing, choosing to play, and committing to playing, because that was one of the things I did. I made it a task because as actors, we're like, don't do too much. I made it a task. Part of my when I started rehearsing to go 100. I don't like assigning numbers either, but just to communicate my thought. I decided that I was going to commit to complete, like whatever choices I was making, I was doing it to 100%, at least at first. Because it's much easier to go full out and then be like, okay, let's bring that down. That's easier and honestly preferable for me than to try to find a way from going from 30 to 100. It's just that was what I did. So I used that my space, the space that I had, especially for Adriana. I was all over the room. So just whatever choice I was making, I was like, if am I gonna do this? This is what I'm gonna do. Okay, well, I'm gonna have to do it. So it's whatever I decided to do, I was going full out with it. And then that was what I wanted coaching for. I didn't want coaching for who is this character? What does she want? I wanted to do all of that work and then get into more specificity. And I would say that was something that I did get with the coaching.
Yeah,
Uh,
tell me
I,
about that. This is you're just making all my segues very easily. So, what do you mean? Tell us about your coaching experience and how did it work out for you? So, I love that you came in with that intention.
yeah, yeah, and so I got with Anola, and Anola, and when I showed her all everything I'd been working on, these 100%, and Anola was like, okay, and she was just help me. Exactly. That was where I was, which was wonderful. That I would recommend you going there so you can get more specific. But even though it was big, it was I think it was pretty specific. So it was like, okay, now let's bring it specific in such a way that instead of having the energy all over the room, it's like in you and your presence and your groundedness, so all of that is bubbling in you, and it pulls the other person. So I had to, everything I was doing, then bringing all of that into me, and getting very specific, and a lot of, again, 100%, this is something I actually talked about in the room at NYU, because she was, again, I feel like I'm making such, like,
This
I'm
is
just
so great. Flow.
here.
I love it.
Okay. So I was in the room, and yeah, we were just talking. I think I said something. Yeah. So one of Iago's last lines was, turn her virtue into pitch. And yeah, and she was like, wow, I really like that. And that the plosives and stuff. And we just got into a conversation in the room. I was like, yeah, exactly. And I was telling her about how I actually was playing with the alliteration, and I went too far with the Adriana one. The R's, I started rolling the R's out of nowhere, and it was funny. I know, yeah, because and Anula actually told me not to do that, because I was just going full out with everything, and she was like, okay, let's not do that. Let's not do that part. And when I told because then it sounds like you're of a different identity, which is not what this character is. And I told Janet about how, yeah, I started rolling my R's just to do the alliteration, and we just started laughing in the room, because that was the atmosphere that I wanted, by the way. Something where I could show you my work and we could have a conversation about the work. It's not just, this is my piece, thanks, and leave the room. It was something where we were having conversations, and I loved that. That was what I was going for. How did I get
This
there?
was
What?
great. No, no, no. I love that we went down this road. I have so many follow-ups. You know what you're talking a lot about
Mhm,
is Shakespeare
mhm,
and you. Like your I there's so many great takeaways. I hope everyone hears
mhm,
that she went big.
mhm.
She played big. And by the way, question, because too many people, the reason I say that is because too many people play it safe. They play it
Yeah,
small. And we as
yeah.
coaches have to kind of nudge you forward, which is okay. All of us have been on both sides as actors. We've been
Mhm.
nudged forward and then we've also been brought down. But in general, you want to go so big that you're having to be brought down by your coaches and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I want to ask you, when we talk about being brought down, did you feel that your energy lowered or your energy raised when you got
No, it felt like I wasn't throwing the energy away instead. Before, I was like, I had the big energy, but instead I was like throwing it to the walls of the room, but bringing the energy, instead of having the energy on the walls of the room, it became in me. And there is something so fascinating about watching someone being grounded in their work, but there is just like so much energy. And I really don't know how to explain it, but it did not feel like my energy, like the stakes became higher. That's what happened. They became higher.
incredible, incredible? And so you're talking about Shakespeare, which I love.
Mhm,
You clearly have a passion for Shakespeare. A lot of people are hesitant with Shakespeare,
mhm.
wobbly with Shakespeare, or have zero experience and want to avoid Shakespeare, right? I'm loving your passion for Shakespeare. I want to ask you about that.
Yeah.
When did that start? And even if you have a passion for Shakespeare, you still need to learn training or technique. You need to learn how to handle your passion and like channel it into the right direction. When did you learn some of that stuff?
I took a Shakespeare acting class in my undergrad, and before then, I my knowledge of Shakespeare was more from the literature um point of view. I've read Shakespeare. But then in the acting class, I learned more about it, but not a lot. That was undergrad. And after then I read more Shakespeare and I saw plays, and I I enjoyed him very much. And I'm someone who also enjoys mythology and the Greek and other mythology. And it's just I think if you enjoy mythology, you will enjoy Shakespeare. I don't know. There's a it's because sometimes you do see it, it's just like it just happens. So I will say, I'm not saying, oh, I'm just the kind of person who would enjoy Shakespeare. That is not what I'm saying. But I will say it did come to me because I do enjoy um things of that facet. And Shakespeare's just there's something interesting about the fact that we know things about Shakespeare, but if we got down to it, we don't know. And the
Well, that's
mystery.
what that, yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
Yeah, and it's that mystery and a lot of assumptions and a lot of I think this is what is happening. I think this is what he's thinking. And it's just seeing because he's so clever. And it's so enjoyable. It's enjoyable. It's cheeky. It's just it's so much personality. Yeah.
So good. It is very true. Very true. It's endless, really.
Yes,
You
you
know,
don't
if you
stop.
have a process and if you have um, the right foundation and training, you can work on a role for 10, 20 years. You know,
Mhm.
you'll peel back the layers constantly.
Yes.
And okay, cool. So I want to get into the actual audition rooms. What monologues did you prepare? Can you name them all and the author? And then let's talk about, some of the rehearsing, but which pieces did you
Yeah.
shoot?
For the classical pieces, I had Adriana from The Comedy of Errors by William Shakespeare, and Iago from Othello by William Shakespeare, and I had Melody from Bite Me by Ileana Pipes, and Benita from Chicken and Biscuits by Douglas Lyons.
Amazing. So four pieces
I had four pieces.
and you rocked them out. Did you choose those four? About when did you feel like you had those locked in?
So I was in a production of Bite Me, the first production of Bite Me. This last
A
summer.
world premiere?
Yeah, and I actually, Tama and I actually talked about that. So this summer, yeah, I was in the production of Bite Me, the first one, and then the fall, I was in Chicken and Biscuits, Bonita.
Okay. So these are productions you just did.
Yeah, yeah,
With
and
were you playing that role in the production?
I was playing the role in the production.
Wow. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
I was a little worried that I might get stuck playing it the way I did in the show because I still wanted to make new discoveries. It's not just some I it's not I didn't pick them because I was familiar with them. I picked them because I liked those monologues. And for the Adriana, someone in my Shakespeare class I'm all for stealing, by the way. Steal monologues. Always steal. Say I did steal. So I
Monologue. Monologue.
monologues. So yeah, someone in the class did Adriana, and it just looked so fun. It just looked like there was so much fun to be had with it. And I felt jealous. I was like, why didn't I get this piece? And I was like, well, I can use it. So I used the piece. And for the second Iago, funny because I don't know how I got Iago just this sounds dramatic, but it came to me. I was looking at something else and then I just saw it and I was like, oh, oh, this would be so fun. This would be so, and I'm not a very religious or, oh, the universe is working for me, but something about that did feel very intentional because that ended up being the piece that gave me the most difficulty. And it was also the piece that other people seem most interested about. And when I say other people, I mean in the room. That was
Hmm.
what they were very most interested. They wanted to see more about. They wanted to give me more notes, and that was it. Was that one piece? And till this very day, you couldn't tell me to perform this piece, and I'm like, oh yeah, I got this. Let me give this to you. Like I have gotten coaching so many notes on this piece, and it just still and it's just so interesting that that's what they're interested in, and that is thing, and that's something to always keep in mind, that no one's looking for a product, no one's looking for something you have, but it's more so about something to work with and like
Yes.
play with. Yeah.
Yeah, for everyone listening, this is my chance to get my speech in, my soapbox really quick. You've heard on other videos, um, there's three things that get you into drama school. And then I want to know if you agree with me, okay? One, quality of work. You got to have at least some threshold of, oh, this person stands out. They're doing some good quality work.
Mhm.
But that's not the only thing, because plenty of people are doing good quality work. There's a good hefty, amount of applicants who are okay. That's some good work. Many people are just really not great off the bat, so it's easy to say no to. But even so good quality work is not the end all be all. It is the most important thing. The second most important thing is the ability to take direction. If you do really good quality work and then they give you an adjustment in the room, like, hey, what if we try this? Like, do it like you're talking to your mom in your own idiolect, and you're freezing up, or you're kind of, well, that's not really what this character is doing in this moment. Why do you want me to? Right? If you have resistance to taking direction, you're obviously not necessarily a great fit for a training program. A training program wants to know if this actor is malleable, if this actor is excited to explore, if this actor can discover something just from a simple suggestion, and not know what they're going to discover, but
Mhm.
be open to playing, right? So the ability to play, having that sense of generosity and just spirit of play, that's the second most important thing. Um, and then there are some people who are like, the folks in the final callbacks. Obviously, they've shown good work. They've shown the ability to take direction. Now it's just about attitude and presence and just being, not getting in your own way and just being like, whatever happens, happens. I'm here to share. I'm not, trying to over control the situation. I'm also not trying to fall weak in the situation. I'm present and excited and sharing my gift. So it's just the attitude of that. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. And it's also not, it's also, yes, taking the note, and but it's, again, I'm gonna keep saying this, committing to it. Committing. It's, if you feel like, oh, I'm being so stupid, I look stupid, it's gonna read, and it's like, okay, you have to come. And it's something I also tell, well, I said I'm teaching a class because it's affiliated with the program I'm doing. And it's like, if it's stupid, whatever. Just commit to it. Just do it. Like, if that's why I'm like, okay, you're saying this is what you want to do. Okay, my only thing is you have to commit to it. And that's something I tell myself. I'm like, if I'm gonna if I'm gonna say I'm gonna do this, am I ready to commit to it? So it's like, yes, taking that note and committing to it. It doesn't even have to be correct. It doesn't even have to be correct. It's about taking it, yeah, and just committing to it.
Because
And
that's the only way you're really going to play big. You're going to discover what's possible. You're going to reach lengths that maybe other people aren't reaching.
yeah,
You're going to find those unique alliteration things that only
yeah,
you have discovered. It's going to become yours in a way that no one else can touch.
yeah. And you said something, Anthony. You said not knowing where it's gonna go, and that's scary. And that's why, and that is so scary. Because no, because it means now you just have to, what? I have to listen? What? I have to be present? What? Now that means I just have to be here and just do. something that I didn't plan and just listen and be present and just make a choice and just go for it. What? That's really scary. And that's something we don't want to do, but that's where you find things. And that is something that I'm trying to push myself. It's okay to not know. I like to know. I like to, even if I'm not gonna know, I like to prepare myself for not knowing. but it but you have to step in and not know, because that's, I find that that's where when I do my best work. It has to be, and I'm not saying to just be messy. You need a foundation of, okay, you have the foundation, you know what you're doing. Now let's get lost. You have to
Like
choose.
getting lost in the right forest,
Yes,
you know.
exactly.
For sure. I mean, a very common phrase when I was at Juilliard in the acting classes was, let's do it again. This time you need to be able to live in the unknown.
Yeah.
Living in the unknown was, once we got into more of the advanced stuff, it was about, can you just come in the room and not know? Right?
Mhm.
You're coming in right now and you know that she's going to be there.
Yeah.
And you come in and not know. Can you live in the unknown? And another way to say that, is like, can you really just be present so that nothing else is going on in this whole world and this whole, except what's going on in this room right now, and
Yeah.
not trying to live in the future about what's going to happen, but
Yeah.
actually just see what happens.
And that requires you, that means you can't fake. I can't pretend to listen. Now I really have to listen to you, because I have to respond to the things you're doing and the things you're not doing and the things you're saying and things you're not and things I want you to be doing. And it's just so scary and dangerous. And we like to shy away from that as much as possible. But
Yes. Well, especially
that's
type A people,
very true.
especially people who like to have those I's
Yeah.
dotted and those T's crossed.
I honestly don't know where I lie. I don't know. I think I just like somewhere in between.
Everyone's unique. I'm very excited for you. Okay, so let's talk about, we dabbled a little bit into what adjustments you were given, right, with Iago, but let's go deeper. And you can share about any school, but our focus is Yale because that's where you chose to go. So, what was the journey? First audition with Yale. What happened?
I
Not years ago. I'm talking about this year's. Yeah.
know. I know. When I actually got out of the room for the first audition, the girl who was going maybe like two spots after me, she was like, "Oh, you took a lot of time in there," and I'm like, "Oh, because what do you say to that?" And she's like, "No, that's good." But it's true. We did. I did spend a lot of time there. At some point, I was like, should I not go? Like, I was just worried that we were taking way too much time. And it was this thing where it was exactly what I wanted it to be. I went in there with the mindset of, I know this is high stakes and I feel it deep in me that it's high stakes, but I want to enjoy this. And I want to come in here and I want this to lead to a back and forth and a conversation. And that was exactly what I didn't even go in with my shoes, which is not for any grand or pretentious reason. I just wanted to go in the way I had been rehearsing. And so that, and I don't like shoes. I don't wear shoes. And when I'm rehearsing, I do not have shoes on. And so it's the same kind of clothes that I wear when I'm rehearsing they were the same clothes I wore just to feel like, okay, we're just working. We're just working. Well, it's okay. We're working. I just having to tell my brain, don't overthink. Don't, we're just working. We're just playing. When I came in, did my two pieces. She asked for my third and my fourth. We're like, okay. And then she focused on my Yago. When I tell you, she loved my Yago. I don't even know if it was love. It was just, there was just something about it that was itchy. Um, and so the notes she gave me, yeah, we first started with questions like, like, why, what? Just asking about those questions.
About the circumstances of the play?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, we know the circumstances of the play, but she was asking more so about what he's think, what my Iago,
Hmm.
what my Iago's perspective is, and all of that. And when I shared, this was actually when I started getting anxious because I shared what I thought, and it was like,
Okay.
Exactly.
Cool.
Right.
Cool.
I got so anxious. I got a little anxious because she didn't. Because if you don't, agree with the circumstances, because that's like the foundational part. So it was like, it's not like she was like, okay. She gave me a completely different outlook. And it was almost it was just so different. I believe it was, yeah, it was very different, and it was almost like justifiable. Like, you can't blame this person. He was wrong. Yago is wrong. And he is like, this is why. So it's not just about, oh, there are so many reasons why he's mad. He's evil. He's mad about all these things. And it was like, no, this thing he's mad about, he's wronged. How can this person, this black man, just take everything? Even like, he is truly wrong, and he's justified in being wrong. And I was like, oh. And then we started, and I found myself in a place where genuinely I was like, oh, let's try that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I was like, yeah, let's try that. I got so excited because I
That's
was so
awesome.
excited.
Yeah.
That was
You're like,
something.
you made a discovery in the room.
Exactly. It was so new to me. And she was having this, she was so confident and passionate about this thing she was saying. And I was feeling, and I was like, oh, you're so right. Oh, you're so right. And she's like, can you do that again? I was like, yeah, let's do that again. I was like, yeah, let's try that. And I did it. And it was like, okay, okay. And then she gave me another note. I think we started going to the idiolect territory. And we did that. I was like, okay, okay. And then another note. And then
Wow.
I know. And at some point I was like, I felt myself actually light on my feet because Anthony, I was stupid excited. I was like, suddenly it was like, yeah, of course I want to get in. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend, oh, I didn't care about getting in anymore. But now it was like, it was just so exciting. It was like, yeah, yeah, let's try that. I was like, oh my God, it was just so exciting. It was just so exciting. And I was not afraid of the notes. I found
Yeah,
myself,
that's what I'm
I
hearing.
was
You were present.
I was not, I just wanted to try new things. Then we did get to a point where it was like, okay, I actually told her, I was like, because she gave me the specific note. I was like, do you mind? I said, Tama, do you mind if I just focus on this one thing you just gave me? Because if I'm trying to like, because I've received so many notes, and if I try to like do everything at once, I mean, yeah, as actors, we are supposed to multitask. I'm not denying that. But I just wanted to focus on that one note she gave me. So I was like, do you mind this time around? I'm gonna go, but I want to focus on this one thing you told me. She's like, yeah, yeah, absolutely. So I did that. And she's like, yeah, yeah, okay. I know. I'm sorry. I'm just such a big, big fan of her. But she's like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, okay." And she asked me to go and like work on that more. And so,
So then
but
you left the room?
yeah,
And then what was so okay, then what happened?
yeah, that was when the girl was like, "Oh, you took a lot of time in there," and I was like, "Oh," and I started working more on the just in case I was called back, and she asked me to do that again. So I started working on the idiolect because I found trouble, which is strange. When I told people this, they're like, I wouldn't expect that, and then like me too, I would not expect that. I was finding difficulty being in Iago with my idiolect.
Mm.
Silly, because that is how I talk to my mom. It's the most natural to me. And that just unlocked, this entire process has unlocked so many things within me, because then I realized that I have tried to edit myself so much that I only know how to be myself around my mom, that then this thing that is so natural and normal to me, that when I have to do it, suddenly I don't know how to be me the way that I know how to talk more than anything else, the way that comes so naturally. I cannot be that, even though it's what's natural, because I've had to screw this part up, unscrew, screw that I don't even know. And it just, that was something that it was a, it's just so much. And the fact that she told me, she was like, you should start, you know how we start from paraphrasing that? It was like, my paraphrasing should not start from paraphrasing, it should start from my idiolect.
Mm.
Because me editing myself, it's taking out all these new juicy things that me, Olamide, could bring to the work. She said that, and you know what I said in the room? I was like, yeah, this is a really vulnerable, honest moment because I found myself saying things that I would not want to say in an audition room because pick me, pick me, pick me. But I ended up saying those things. I was like, yeah, I was like, I hear what you're saying, but like, because she was saying, to just use my idiom, like to always start from my idiom. But I was like, yeah, I get what you're saying, but like, I was, I was like, this is what I said. I was like, theoretically, I get it. Yeah, it's true. But practically, I was like, that's not what people are looking for. And Tamala, I was like, people who? Who are people? And I was like, the schools and everything. It was just, I was being more honest than I intended to be.
Oh my gosh.
I
That's
was like,
amazing.
I hear you,
She's
but
probably very curious about you, very intrigued.
I was like, I hear you, but like at the end of the day, that's not what people want. And like these schools and everything, so like, but you have to start there so that, and then you get these tools of how to assume the American or the British or this and that, but you have to start from yourself. So when I left, I was working by myself for like an hour, just trying to let let the editing go away and just be me and use my like with Iago. So for the second callback, it was with her and Kamala and Gregory Wallace.
Mm-hmm.
And she asked me to do Iago again, of course, with a different one. And yeah, and she asked me to also put in mind the idiolect part. I did that. And of course, again, she was like, okay. And she gave me another note. She was like, don't you think he's having fun with this? Don't you think he's having more fun with this? And I did have more fun. I think you told me that as well, Anthony, to have more fun
Yeah.
with that part. And Anula also said the same thing. Anula was actually trying to help me have more fun. She was like, oh, what do you? And I worked with Anula before, so and I think she's also asked that question before. What is something that I really, really, enjoy? And of course, I said a cinnamon roll. And we worked and we worked with Iago's plan being my cinnamon roll. And after we did that, I remember Anula was like, Ala, it seems like cinnamon rolls work for you every time, which is true because we've had to work together before and we used the cinnamon roll. But yeah, the more fun, she asked me to find more fun. And yeah, it was just me not knowing. I didn't, it's not like I could plan how to have more fun before that. It was just like trying to have more fun. And it's just like, okay, the only thing I have is right now in this node, and I just have to commit to it and not assume or admit or just assume anything and just do it. Again, it's just doing it and committing to it. And so that was what it was.
And so you got a call back.
No, there was the interview
Oh, there
portion.
was an interview while you were still on that same day.
Yeah. And
Okay, what
you're
was that
right
like?
about what you said about how they were intrigued by me. Because they had me sing. I sang. And then, oh, actually, it was so funny because when I came into the room, she was like, will you sing for us? Just, can you sing for us? And I was like, huh? I thought she said, can you sit for us? And I was like, huh? And she said, "What, you don't want to sing?" I was like, no, no, no. I just wasn't sure what you said. And then I sang, and then I afterwards the
Did you
interview.
have something prepared? What
Oh
was
yeah,
it?
yeah, I did have a song prepared. It was Too Beautiful for Words from The Color Purple. And if it helps, I'm not a singer, like at all. Like I'm the kind of person who would cry after singing. I'm not a singer at all, but I have worked on that song before in a class, in a singing class, so I did feel a bit more comfortable with the song.
That's very
And
nice. And did you have a philosophy really quickly before you continue with the interview? Did you have
Mhm.
a philosophy about picking your song? Like, did you believe it should be from a musical, or did you believe it should be something you had already worked on? Like, was it what kind of structured your selection?
I think because I'm not confident with singing, I'm just not there yet. Honest truth. I wanted something where I had worked on in a singing class. I mean, if I could sing, I probably wouldn't worry about that. But I mean, it's not so much about this. I hate that I said that. It's not so much about the singing as much as it's about how are you, like, yeah, you can sound pretty. Like, how are you telling the story through the song? And I wanted something where, oh, I've done my character analysis for this song and I can communicate, because at the end of the day it is a monologue and you are singing to someone and you do want something from the other person, or you want to affect the other person some way. And it's like, how am I doing that? So how am I going to use, am I singing this way at first, then is it this way? It's just, I wanted something where I'd played around with that in a class and I've been told, do this, try that, so that I could go into the room and be like, okay, at least I'm kind of comfortable with this. So that's
Yeah,
what
it sounds exactly like me. It's
yeah.
like, yeah, yeah. It's like I know that the point of this part of the audition is not to judge my singing voice. It's not, that's not what they're looking for. They're looking to find out if I can play a character and play a scene through
Yeah.
the medium of song. And I didn't have a great voice either, so I definitely wanted to make sure I could at least carry the
Yeah.
notes.
Yeah.
But I wanted to make sure the degree of difficulty was low, and I wanted to make sure it was from a musical because
Yes.
musicals kind of inherently are characters and scenes and
Yeah.
drama,
Yes. It
as
wasn't.
opposed to like a random pop song, which may or may not be for that purpose.
Yeah.
So and yeah, it was just like, I need to have a strong enough confidence in the foundation of it so that I
Yeah.
can just play.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And I did feel like that was a song where I did feel like I had a journey through just in storytelling.
Right.
It
Exactly.
was, yeah, it started more so like, y- I want you, I want you to believe what I'm saying. I want you to because it's the song is saying you're too beautiful, because this is a character who she's never been told she's beautiful. And in fact, my character once said to her that she was ugly. So it was me trying to rewind, change all of that mindset and tell you your beauty is like you're too beautiful for words. And it's like, how do you even do that with someone who's never been told that before? And you've said otherwise before. And it was at first I had a way I was going about it. That wasn't working because she didn't believe that. I mean, why else would I keep singing? If it worked, then the song's done. But if I'm still singing, it's because she doesn't buy what I'm saying yet. Yeah, I haven't achieved what I want. So I have, so the first part I tried this way and then said, okay, I'm gonna try this different way. It's still not working. And at the end, I try this different way. And the question is, by the end of the song, did I achieve what I wanted or not? And for me, I decided that I did achieve what I wanted, because that gave it a different, I mean, if I didn't achieve it, that would be a different ending moment. But achieving it was also a very different
Yeah,
uh,
yeah, you made a choice, right? There's
story.
limitless amounts of choices you can make, and if
Yeah.
make one, it's easy to read the story. Okay, back to the interview. What happened? What did you share?
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting what you said about them being intrigued by me, because when I sat down, the first thing she did say was like, "Hmm." I didn't even know if it was a good thing. I think she said, like, we can't figure you out.
Oh my goodness.
And I was like, said, "Oh, in a good way." I was like, "Oh, okay, thank you." It was this thing where, when you have people looking at you, staring at you, like, what are you? What species are you? What's your make? What year? That kind of thing. I did feel that. I did feel that sort of attention in it. So yeah, we got to. They asked me questions, and again, I responded. I just told them the honest, and I'm the kind of person who when I start talking, I say things I did not plan to say. This meeting, I said something that was like that was not part of the plan. But I found, but I stayed very honest, and I did share parts of what was going on in my life at the moment. Like they asked me a question, I was like, yeah, I'm actually having a rift with someone right now. I'm someone who you cannot have a conversation with me without me using an analogy. So I was like, yeah, I'm having a rift with someone right now, and it's and it parallels this thing we're talking about. So it's just staying honest. And they did ask me if I had a question. My philosophy, take it or leave it. I might be wrong. I'm probably wrong. What do I know? But I think when it comes to asking questions, if it's not something you can't find online on the website, and if it's something you're not truly curious about, like, do you know what I mean,
I mean, are
Anthony?
you saying don't force it?
Don't force it, is what
Yeah,
I'm
like
saying.
don't come up with questions because you think you know there everyone always asks, do you have
Uh-huh.
any questions for us?
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
like, you know, you everyone knows they're going to ask you that if you get to the
Mhm.
interview portion. So if you don't, then don't. If you
Yeah,
do, then do. But you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
there's so
If
much
you,
information out there. You should be able to
yeah,
research the school thoroughly. You should be
yeah.
able to know. And if you have a question, sincerely, then
If you
ask it.
have a question
But don't
sincerely,
force it.
ask. And if you're really curious about something, this is the opportunity to find out because you're talking directly to the people in charge. So
Right.
this is your chance. But if it's more so like asking a question just to leave an image or to,
No, you're steering. No, it's the wrong direction for sure.
yeah, but I did ask a question. And that's the thing about me. Sometimes I just throw words and hope they link. And she did end up having to help me reframe the question. But I asked, what do you plan on having a student's journey throughout your throughout this training program to be, and how do you intend them on leaving at the very end? How what do you want for them? What are you looking to make them be at the end? And I loved that the answer was about individual. It's each individual part. Like it's not like there's a meal plan and I'm just giving everyone the meal plan and you all eat the same thing every day. It's more so about how the goal is based on the individual because everyone's coming from different places and they have different experiences. So and we will all have different skill levels is what it is. So it's just about each being very individual. And yeah, that was something I was like, oh, yeah, that was something that I stepped out actually thinking about. So yeah, when it comes to questions, if it's a question that I really need to ask and they're the only ones who can give me that answer, I'm gonna ask. But if not, I'm not gonna try to influence my image of them by asking a question.
So when you left that day, how did you feel? Do you remember?
It was all just such a blur. But it was just so I think my mind was like, whatever happens, I can't even be mad. If I don't get a, I would love Jesus Christ, please pick me, pick me, pick me. But if I don't, like if I didn't get it, I was just like, I had so much fun. Like who would have thought? Who would have thought? Who would have thought an audition process that I'm supposed to be like, "Ugh, I'm shaking, could be so interesting and have so many conversations and revelations. And I got to this thinking that if I can learn so much about myself just through auditioning for you and have these very meaningful conversations and learn so much about problems that I didn't realize that I had, then Jesus Christ, I want to go to your school. Please pick me. I was there and I had so much. Yale was a top school. And suddenly it was like, I really do want to go here. I felt so attached already. And it was just such a great time. Great time, Anthony. I can't even
Yeah. You're
explain. It
talking
was
about having fun and you're talking about having discoveries. You're talking about, you know, like you
yeah,
said, just if that's what that audition was, you know, I would
Exactly.
definitely love to go to your school. So when did you find out, not when, but like where were you when you found out you got invited to callback weekend?
Hmm. I was in rehearsal actually. I was in rehearsal, and I think I rehearsal hadn't started. We were just like sitting in waiting for rehearsal to start. And I checked my phone and I saw an email. And I was like, and I opened it and I saw the invite and I just glowed. I beamed. I had someone say, I genuinely, I had someone be like, "Oh, you look like you're in a good mood. What happened?" And I was just like, "Oh."
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's pretty much it, right?
And they were like, "Oh, it seems like whatever you're smiling about is big. You're gonna have to tell me later. You're gonna have to tell me." And I was just so happy. It just felt so right, and I was so thankful to them and to myself for just being stubborn and going back and really actually putting in the work, and also just thankful for whatever else plays a factor. I don't know, but I just being thankful for everything. And I was just so excited. And the callback weekend, Anthony. You know how I was like, oh, I wouldn't be mad. Whatever the After the callback weekend, I was like, oh, I would be mad.
I
I was
heard
like,
some stories. I heard some stories. So,
you heard some stories?
oh yeah, I know some people in the callback weekend. All right. You're not
Okay.
our only client who got into Yale. So tell us about callback weekend. I want to know in the work, like what
Mhm.
did they ask you to do? How did you
Yeah.
do? And then
Mhm.
also outside of the work,
Yeah.
what were you doing after callback weekend? How was your mindset? What were you doing?
Um, so again, my mindset going to the callback weekend was okay. Yes, again, I I want to be picked. I'm not. Let's not pretend we do want to be picked. But it was also that thing where I was like, what I want the most, I told you this, what I want the most is to leave like this callback weekend and know that I was there. I was there 100%. I was present and I had fun and I committed to everything. I committed and I had fun. Because if I were to leave and be like, ah, I wish I just, opened up more. Oh, I wish I'd been more comfortable. Oh, I wish I did. I didn't want to have, I felt like if I didn't get accepted, but I knew that I put it in everything, I wouldn't be as mad as I would be. And when I say mad, by the way, I mean mad at myself, not anyone else, because it's no one's fault. Um, Compared to if I didn't get in and I didn't put my all, and then I would, for a year, I'd be like, "Oh, I wish I wanted to enjoy it to the max and commit to everything and be 100% so that I could leave feeling content with myself." And that was exactly what it was. We had classes, we played, I just let myself enjoy every process. And this is a big one. So I came in, and she's like, "Yeah, can you do the Iago?" Act surprised. She said, "Can you do the Iago? And the other one. What did I say? The other one? It was Benita. Benita. It was Benita. Can you do the Iago and Benita?" And she told me. And for the Iago, keep in mind what we talked about using the idiolect. And I was like, "Oh." And I was like, "Oh." And I don't know if I had a reaction. I was just like, "Okay." And she was like, "But if you didn't, you don't have to, like if you didn't work on it, you don't have to, do it." And of course I'm gonna do it. Of course I'm gonna do it. But I think my reaction was more so that I forgot about that. I worked on Iago before going to the weekend, but I forgot about the intellect part, and I never worked on that. I remember how I said I had trouble being me in that, and suddenly it was like not just her and Gregory, but it was also the two who hadn't seen anything from me before. And again, yes, going ready to not know, but a part of us does like a bit of preparation, and I was just a little. I was a little surprised, but it was like, okay, whatever. I was like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go in, and I went in, and my intellect was fighting me. It was like I was fighting to get it out, but it just wasn't happening. Like I couldn't just strip myself bare to let it go out. And there were moments where it would go in, but it would go back. And it was so frustrating. But I finished it and I sang and I left the room. And if when I'm in a good mood I'm beaming, imagine how I am when I'm not. So it was like, oh. And I had some of the others asking me, how did it go? People who I'd formed some nice relationships with by that time. And I was like, I don't know. That was truly what I said. And I found that usually if I feel like I did good work, I probably didn't. It's just that's just me. If I feel like oh, that was really good. It probably wasn't. Because I feel like I do great work when I'm not when it's not polished.
Well,
When I
you're talking about a third eye, which is a kind of the outer critic, the thing that
Yeah,
is examining yourself the whole time.
exactly.
And so if you actually have the wherewithal to say, wow, that was really good, that means you were watching yourself the whole time,
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
inherently not going to produce
yeah,
good. So
yeah.
sometimes it feels like, wow, the best work is when I don't even realize really
When
what
I
happened.
when I don't know
Yeah.
exactly. It's so whenever I feel like, oh, that was really good, then it just gives me an idea. Oh, I was acting and I was telling myself, oh yeah, that's like good. And so I found so whenever I find myself in and I don't know, I don't like being in an I don't know place. However, a part of me is also aware that that's probably a good thing. But this time, I couldn't think of it as a good thing because there's one thing about me. I feel like I've established that already that I love to um take notes and commit to them. So the fact that I got the chance to take the note in front of new people who hadn't seen me and I was struggling with committing to it, I was just, I don't know. When they asked, I was like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. And there was that and the classes were really they were really fun. And also it did give an eye into the kind of format. The improv class was really interesting. But yeah.
Amazing. Oh my gosh. Okay. So, um, you form some relationships, you're having fun, you're
Yeah.
getting the one audition, you're getting the group audition, you're kind of feeling out, and you said by the end of callback weekend, you're just attached, you
Yeah,
know,
it
and
was.
they don't accept most of those students.
Yeah,
Right? They
yeah.
only accept what? Not even
They accept half. Yeah,
okay.
half.
Yeah, because it's like 32,
Yeah.
right? So they accept 16. You got a 50-50 chance here.
Yeah,
Do you
yeah.
remember flying on the plane back and what were you feeling? Like, did you feel like you had a decent chance? Were you completely in the unknown? How
I
did you leave it all on the table? Did you feel content?
yeah, I felt a sense of contentment. Yes, definitely. But I'm a very dramatic person. I'm just
Yeah,
very
we
dramatic.
know
Like
this. We're very aware now.
driving, we just in the bus when we were being driven to the airport, I just had my head on the window, just being so dramatic. I was like, I'm leaving. And I just started getting all these feels. And I was just being so dramatic. I was like, oh, like I'm going. It's the end of the callback. It was just so good. It was just such a nice experience. It was like, oh my God. I think I did great. I committed to everything. I was there. I was open. I was vulnerable. Um, Whatever happens, I know that I did my part, and it had nothing. There was nothing more I could have done. I knew I was there. I did that, but it was just like, oh my God, this was such a good experience. Such a good experience, and I just hoped to go there, and because I liked who I was around those people. I
Hmm.
in the audition, in the initial audition room. I liked who I was at the callback weekend. I liked that person so much. And I was like, I want to be more of that person.
Can you describe 3 words? Use 3 words to describe that person.
That person is so vulnerable. That person is honest. And that person is accepts accepting. I ever since then, ever since then, I started talking so much more about being Nigerian to people.
That's awesome.
It is awesome. Like it's so awesome because before then, it was just yeah, I'm Nigerian, but I never really went into conversations about being Nigerian. But after then, I suddenly made my entire personality about being Nigerian. Like, oh yeah, I'm sorry, it's just a Nigerian thing. I became that person. And it was just suddenly it was just so much like I met other people there as well who were just completely different people. And when I mentioned my name, like my full name, she was I think Tamla had no problem because there was a different Nigerian who had been there, who is there, and she said the person's name so well. And we talked about the intonations and like, yeah, like, what is this conversation? And suddenly it was just so, I liked myself. I liked myself. Like I'm this person and I like this person.
Hmm.
And just, and it was just such, and it was an epiphany. It was such a turning. It just, ever since then, I did speak more about Nigerian, being Nigerian.
Pretty amazing. I love that story. I didn't know that. You didn't tell me that. That's amazing. And it is pretty amazing that no matter what the outcome would have been, right? You're talking about when you're on the plane back from callback weekend. We don't know if you're accepted or not. And
Yeah,
honestly, it would have been life changing, even without getting
exactly.
you
I'm just
know,
like, yeah.
because not just because of the schools, but because of
Yeah.
you. The way you showed up was at the level of your aspirations. You
Mm,
did not sell your aspirations short by showing up less than. You
mm,
showed up to the level of what you wanted, and nothing can go wrong when you give yourself to the process in good faith like that. It just turns out in this case
mhm.
that you got in.
Yeah.
So tell me, when did this happen? How did it happen? Where were you?
Everything in my life just centers around my mom. Oh, I didn't mention that I actually asked my mom to go with me when I auditioned.
Oh, you took her to the final callback weekend.
No, 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 not the final callback weekend.
Okay, okay.
Initial auditions. She just makes everything so much easier. I don't know. So but it's funny because I was on the phone with my mom. We were just talking. And then we ended the call. And the moment we ended the call, I got an email. The moment I ended the call with my mom, I got an email that it was an offer.
So
I
you
was
just hung up with your mom and you got an email that you got
I
in.
know I hung up with her and I got the email and I sent her a message and we went back on the phone again. Like, what is my life? What is my life? And you thought I was beaming when I got the callback weekend. I
Oh
was
God.
well great. It was it was, but that's the thing. It didn't even, I was so happy, but it didn't even feel real. This is the crazy part. I mean, I even got a phone call again afterwards, and we talked on the phone, and she's like, "How are you feeling?" But still, it was like it still didn't feel. Do you know when it started feeling real? When I did get I got the official letter stuff. It still didn't feel very real until because you had to send a sort of email back, say, "Yeah, I accept" or something, and then I got a response from the dean saying, "See you in August." And I was like, "See who? When? Oh, you're seeing me in August. Oh, I'm coming." You mean I'm coming? for real. It's like, oh, I'm actually going. And even then, it didn't feel real for a while until I told you about this on the phone, until I started making my Yale email, and
Uh-oh.
looking for housing and actually worrying about housing. And I'm like, oh, it's real. It is real. It was something I would say beyond my imagination, and extremely grateful. And
I'm
I,
so I'm
I,
Go ahead,
I
yeah.
I acknowledge the privilege to even be able to audition and to have supportive, to have my mom who's super supportive, and I'm just so grateful. I do not take it for granted at all. At all.
That's amazing. You deserve it.
Thank you.
You're gonna have such a great time. I'm wondering, it's so fresh. It's so cool to talk to you. What is it, a month? Like it's so recent, and you're gonna have such an incredible journey of personal growth, artistic growth, just expansion in all regards. And um, I was gonna ask you at this time,
Mhm.
before you even start the summer, before you even get to your first year, what are you most excited about for this training?
Oh my God. I am so excited to explore that part of me that I found in the audition and the callback week. I'm so excited to be more vulnerable. The part of me that has to make everything to make things polished or coming prepared. I'm so ready to get messy. I just want to get messy. I'm so ready to like take out all this composure and just be scared. I think I'm gonna be really, really I'm scared already. And I don't want to hold myself back due to fear. If anything, I just want to explore that part of her. Be vulnerable, learn new things, find myself, become a different person.
You're
Different person in a sense where
probably gonna
I'm
be
more open to who I am.
Yeah, exactly. You exactly are right. And you are you gonna be the youngest person in this class?
I've been the youngest person in every space I've been, but who knows? I might not be. I might
That's
not be.
not new to you, huh?
Because I'm 22. I think I heard from someone that there was someone at the callback weekend who was 21. So I'm assuming they're turning 22. So I might not be.
All right.
I would love to not be the youngest in this
You
place.
are ready. You are absolutely ready, and
I
you're gonna have a blast.
thank you, Ian.
You're gonna
And
have so much fun, and you're in the tri-state area, meaning the Northeast. Like you can hop on a train to New York if you want to see a show, if you want to go to the New York Performing Arts Library, if you want to see friends at Juilliard and NYU, all these, you're
Mhm.
in a whole new circle.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
thank you, Andy.
Well, it has been a pleasure. It has been a pleasure to coach you, but more so to just be a part of your journey.
Yeah.
And thank you for sharing today. This was all really awesome.
Thank you. I love talking about this because I feel like I learn something new each time I recall the events. So,
There's people like you who are not yet auditioning. They're looking towards the audition.
mm,
I don't want to ask like what would you say to them? Like I want to know like what would you say to the you
mhm.
a year ago?
Be stubborn. Be stubborn. And something that I've said, I feel like I've said so many times, commit, and think that since I'm doing this already, I might as well just really do it. And be specific. Be very, very specific. And be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself. And be kind, still be stubborn, but be kind to yourself. I wasn't ready the first time. I wasn't ready the second either. And I wasn't very kind about that. But I was stubborn, just not kind.
It was a perfect mixture the third year, huh?
Yeah. Indeed.
Well, awesome. This has been fantastic. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for giving your story and lending your voice. I know people relate to it. I know there's so much gold in ways that we don't even know just because of someone's personal story or what they needed to hear. So I really appreciate you coming on here and sharing.
Can I add one more thing? Just
Please.
also don't assume you know what they want. Don't assume you know what they want, because then you're putting on an image and you don't even know if that's what they want. The best you can do is bring yourself, who you are. It has to be you. You have to make sure that it's you you're bringing, and not an idea of what you should be.
Mm-hmm.
That's not
Mm-hmm.
that's not helping
Great.
them or you. You
Yep.
is the best thing you can bring, I would
Yep.
say.
Okay. Well, you and I will talk again. But yeah, let's stay in touch.
Thank you, Anthony.
All right. We will talk soon.
Bye.
Bye.